Hi, how's it going? This is Resident of Collinwood for YouTube. I'm here to do a Dark Shadows video for you guys. I'd done this video before, but I figured I'd do it again. So this is my revisited retrospective of Naomi Collins. Naomi Collins, we hear about her in the present day of 1967. The legend of Naomi Collins is she was given jewels by a pirate, and she was buried with those jewels. Now, there were other Collins family members buried with their jewels, so that's the interesting part. Now, here's something I'm going to get into with this. We don't know exactly at what age Naomi and Joshua met. But I'm willing to wager they met at a younger age than even what they perceived. Because what you got to understand, even in 1795, women had no rights. I mean, little and none were out. Listen, little was on the train waving bye-bye. And even prior to that, women's rights were non-existent. This is why there were arranged marriages between parents would arrange their kids' marriage. Parents would say, "Oh, I'll promise my daughter to your son for this." And many, it was for money. It was for sort of wealth insurance. So their family and their bloodline was taken care of. And I gotta believe that's the actual arrangement of Naomi. That Joshua and Naomi was promised to Joshua at a very young age. I would probably say the age of 9 or 10. I'm not saying they married at age 9 or 10. I'm saying Naomi may have been sent, to the Collins family, or been attempted to be sent to the Collins family at a young age. Now, Joshua talks about Naomi's parents briefly, about how they were rich. He says the word, they were a wealthy family. Were, past tense. That leads me to believe, I do think he says this, that leads me to believe that Naomi's family may have known the Collins family, on a personal level. They were friends. Again, we don't know much about Naomi's family, other than what's said, and very little is said. Now, there's one of two things that happen here. And I'm going to use my theory last. Either Joshua Collins makes up the legend about his own wife, about her being given jewels by a pirate, so somebody will look for those jewels and accidentally release his son, so his son can be free, which is a possibility. Because here's the thing I'm going to point to. That legend that everyone in 1967 talks about, not one soul mentions it in 1795. Not one. I've always found that perplexed. Now, you could say maybe they just didn't mention it. Now, that leads me to my theory. And there's a reason it isn't mentioned, but written down. Naomi Collins, and I don't think Joan Bennett is doing this because she's confused of who she is. And really, my theory doesn't come from something I made up. My theory comes from the way Joan played Naomi at times. There would be times where it felt like Naomi was two different people. And here's what I mean. At one moment, she would be very very quiet. And the other moment, she would be very talkative and drinking, and like almost as if she were two different people. Like, she would remember in 1795, I talked about women having very little rights, none at all, really. When a woman talked back to a man in 1795, you want to know what they got? across the face because women didn't have rights. And I'm not bringing this up to be, whatever. I'm bringing this up because it's fact. Women were treated like less than second-rate citizens. And it's not even fair. So here's Naomi talking back to not just her sister-in-law, but at times her husband. I don't think this is just some strength of a Collins woman, because in many ways, she's only Collins by marriage. I think that's what some people might misunderstand. This woman isn't born a Collins. She's her own person. So where is this coming from? Where is this back talk coming from? Is she just bellowing back, or is she someone who has been in authority? And then I think about the legend. The legend of Naomi, she was given jewels by a buccaneer, a pirate basically. A pirate. Given. I want you to think about what a pirate is. No, not the Walt Disney version, the Johnny Depp, the romance, the hand. No, not that shit. No. I'm talking about the thieving, the raping, the throat slitting pirates, the actual pirates. That was a pirate. Yet, a pirate gave this woman jewels. That's the legend. I kept watching Joan's performance of Naomi. I kept watching her do this, drink, and she would have this look. And let me tell you the moment I really came up with this conclusion. When Naomi takes her hand and smacks Trask across the face. Reverend Trask. I mean hard. This ain't no kiddie slap. And it ain't a slap of passion either. It's a slap almost like she's saying, if I were who I once was, you would be dead. Dead. I've always gotten that feel from Naomi that this woman was someone else at one point. This woman was not always Naomi Collins or Naomi whatever her maiden name was. She was someone completely different. And then I kept thinking about the legend. Given jewels by a pirate. Given. Think about that. Think about what a pirate is. And I thought, wait a second. What if this woman were the pirate? What if she herself stole jewels and just kept them? What was to stop her from having, from returning to America, knowing she had, look, if she knows at a young age she has to marry this rich young man, if she knows at the age of 10, but she doesn't want that life, but she knows she has it to come back to, and to have some sort of immunity, probably, she would have that immunity. She would have it, because the Collinses, I think there's more of a Collins connection to the crown than what people think. I think, now I'm not saying they were royalty, but I think they were connected with royalty. They were that high above everybody, that they could have reached out to King George himself and cut a deal and said, find this woman, bring her back. And that's really whoever, and I'm not going to get into my story, the story I did. But I think they honestly found Naomi with money, and they just left her, kept it, as long as she was still willing to marry Joshua. That's her ticket to freedom, and she took it. But now I'm not saying she regrets her kids, but part of her remembers that life. How could she forget it? I want you to think about something. If this woman wasn't a pirate, Who gave her the jewels? I'm not meaning literally just a pirate. Who exactly? You mean to tell me there's a man who's so in love with Naomi you forget his name? There's no name. There's no name. Why is there no name to that pirate? Why is that pirate not mentioned by name? If it was such a big deal that she received these jewels from a pirate, if the legend itself is that huge, where's the name of that pirate? That's my question I leave with anybody. Who was that pirate? They could have just said a pirate gave her those jewels, when in fact she was the one who stole them. When she could have stole them, is what I'm trying to say. She could have been the pirate. What's to stop her? Because why? She married a Collins? What? Okay. Think of how proud each Collins family member is, how risque they tend to be. Look how many wild childs they have in the family. There's more than one. There's way more than one. Quentin, Carolyn, David. They're all children who have this, not just flair and pride about them, but this risque about them. Where does that come from? Does that honestly come from the Collins side, or does that come from deep down Naomi? Think of Barnabas. Think of how Barnabas is at times. He's so gentlemanly, but at times he's so dead set on revenge at times. Against, not just against Angelique, but against anybody who crosses him. Where does that truly come from? Does that truly just come from one side? No. Often when you're a product of your father, you're also a product of your mother. You have two different bloodlines flowing through you. Who's to say Naomi wasn't this cutthroat pirate that stole and killed? People think about, I think, sometimes we focus too much on the elegance of a character. Sometimes with characters, you gotta look beyond the elegance, beyond the look. What do their words tell you? What does their posture tell you? Is it just pride that Naomi slaps Reverend Trask over? Yeah, she loves Vicky. She dares Reverend Trask to smack her back. She dares him. Why? What if Naomi grabs a pistol? What if he smacks her back and she grabs a pistol and shoots him? What would be said then? Because in order to do that, in order to kill, if she cold-bloodedly kills Trash just to kill him, that would have proven my theory correctly. I do believe. Because something tells me, deep down, tells me, Naomi Collins has killed before. Long before. So, that's my theory. I do feel that Naomi was a pirate at one point. Again, you could look at the other way too. I'm not closing that book. But I do think the legend of Naomi Collins really needs to be looked into on a more perspective level. It needs to be dug into on a deep, dark level. This woman acts like more than one person at times to me, from what I've seen. Alright, guys. tomorrow, officially, I start the read-along review of The Dark Shadows Daybook by Patrick McCrae. So, I hope you guys are ready for tomorrow. You guys have a good one.